I think after college I started in the financial world and worked for finance, and then realized that was not my cup of tea. And so I was able to get an opportunity coaching boys and girls tennis at a local high school, and kind of fell in love with the whole coaching aspect. And also too in the summers, because I had summers free, was able to go work at different universities and colleges and learn a lot from top D1 coaches, Bobby Bayless at Notre Dame, Jay Louderbeck at Notre Dame, also too Jim Thompson and Terry Ann at Virginia Tech. Those are kind of the four that steered me into the direction of college coaching. And then from the high school, I was able to get a job as a director and head pro, and just realized that, or at a club, director and head pro at a club, and just realized that I missed the whole competition aspect of whether it be high school, and then decided then and there that I think that college was the route for me. I wanted to be part of it, missed the competition, being a 4-year athlete in college myself, playing tennis, so I wanted to realize that I really missed all that, and so that's kind of led me to Wingate, and I've been here for, I think it's my 14th season now, so yeah. They both bring a lot of, there's a lot of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities when it comes to coaching the men and the women. I think, here we really focus on effort and working hard, and so whether it's a male or a female, those expectations are kind of set. I think, and it's also about learning their personalities. I think, with the team we have now, I've got 20 players combined, and so that's 20 different personalities, and so learning them all and being able to learn how to communicate to make them better. I think that's the biggest challenge for me.
Now, when you schedule matches, are they typically the men and women are playing at the same time? You travel together? Is that how it works?
We try to do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The men open up this weekend, and it's just them playing. Okay. And there's a couple matches where we have a couple throughout the season where it's just the men or it's just the women. Okay. So, but primarily 95% of the time it's men and women at the same time. Okay. There's definitely been an impact. I think from going to the 9-point format to the 7-point format, it changes the way we think. It's definitely changed the way we practice. Our training has definitely changed when it comes to the doubles. It's about trying to, more about making sure that we're ready to go with a 6-game set. You don't have an opportunity to get too far behind and come out slow. I think that's kind of the biggest aspect of it. I feel like actually it's really made doubles a lot more intense, a lot more energetic, and obviously the score changes too with the no ad. So that's also changed the way we practice and the way we train, and so we've adapted, and I think now if you were to ask the players, you go back and play the old system or the ad system, they tell me no. I think they've actually adjusted well. I think they actually like the new format better.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think we use that target. I think we talk about it. I think, the guys have trained hard. They've worked hard. They embrace that ranking. And, to be honest, to motivate them, it's the fact that they want to be higher than 4. And so, they work hard every day. They train hard. And so the motivation is there to compete and to do even better. They want to. This group that I have here wants to continue to break records. Yeah, obviously our fall season is primarily individual. It's where we're working on individual tournaments, and we don't really do any team events. We host a tournament here in the spring, or the fall, and it is, for me, I try to get people as many matches as I can. Especially the new kids coming in, the new players. I want them to get as much experience as possible. And, sometimes I like to see how they handle themselves when they're out on an island by themselves. So sometimes in the fall, it gives me an opportunity to just leave them out there and kind of see how they handle it. Can they work their way out of a tough spot? But there are tournaments where, our regional tournament where we might not take everyone. But that primarily is the only tournament where I probably won't travel anyone. But again, it's more about getting matches for everybody.
So in the spring, I suspect that there's a lot of consistency year over year. Obviously, you got to get your conference matches in. What kind of changes are you trying to incorporate, to challenge these guys?
Yeah.
I mean, are you reaching out to like D1 schools and things like that, or do you have that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, we've played a couple D1 schools. We've got a couple on the schedule this year. I think the biggest thing as far as scheduling goes to challenge this group is we really made an effort to schedule the top teams. And, I think this year we got invited to the first ever D2 ITA Indoor National Championship. And so, our first match there is against the number 3 team in the country. We also have on our schedule, we got the number 2 team in the country. If we win our first round, it's possible we play the number 1 team in the country. So we're playing a very tough schedule. And I think one of my friends, coaching colleagues, told me that, in talking about, that was my big thing last year, is I don't feel like I prepared them well enough for the NCAA tournament when we started playing that top competition. And so I talked to him a lot, and he just said, you got to play everybody. Whether you win or lose, you got to get out there. So this way you have that experience of you've been through everything. You've experienced everything that you're probably going to experience when you get in the NCAA tournament. So this way your guys are ready. And you can make the changes going through the season that you saw playing those top teams, and the situations that we got into, you can learn from them. And so that was the goal this year in scheduling, and we do. Our schedule is very, very tough, very challenging. We play a lot of matches against each other. We compete a lot against each other. So my goal is to structure the lineup from best to guys that are going to be the best, the second best, third. That's in strength of schedule, or strength of order. Yes. And so that's my goal every time we step on the court. Also, too, you have to take into account, maybe a guy's struggling. Maybe, your guy at 4 is struggling a little bit, and your guy at 5 is playing really well. So, maybe give the guy at 5 an opportunity to play at 4. And so, I can play around with it a little bit when it comes to that. Obviously, we're only allowed to move to switch one spot at a time. But so it gives you that opportunity to. And this year we've got a lot of depth, and so, guys are going to get a lot of opportunities to play, I think, and try and prove themselves. So by the end of the year, we know going into each match who's going to be there. Honestly, it always comes down to the money. And that's just the reality of the situation with the university. Being a private university, the admissions department and our financial aid department do a great job with academic scholarships, and I try and do the best I can, trying to give guys the best packages we can. Obviously, we're limited year to year based on who is graduating, so that does play a role in how many players I look for. This upcoming year we lose one guy, one senior, but the year after I lose 5 players. So that's a huge class to recruit, and that's a huge class to try and fill that void. So that it changes what I have to do year in and year out based on who's graduating and the money that I have and the scholarship availability.
When would you start looking at players? I mean, when would someone, in particular, maybe someone local, like someone from North Carolina, when would they get on your radar?
I get a lot of people that reach out to me, which is a great start. Obviously, we can't really, due to the NCAA rules, we can't contact anybody until their junior year. And so right around there is when I'll start looking and start kind of sending some emails out and start trying to communicate there. That's kind of when I'll start. but a lot of it's done too, going into their senior year or that junior summer is big when they just finish their junior year, going into their senior year. That's a big time as far as, for me, the recruiting.
Now, do you have any walk-on players, or is everyone pretty much recruited here?
Yeah, I mean, they're recruited. I've had walk-ons in the past.
Okay.
My last walk-on currently is in pharmacy school. And so walk-ons are available. It's an opportunity. When I first started, I had a women's basketball player come out and play for me in the spring. I had some more walk-ons. I took people that won the intramural championship. So earlier in my career, there were a lot more opportunities for walk-ons. I think the way the team has become and what we've done over the past, it's become a little bit harder. But I mean, they still, I had a walk-on a couple years ago that came as a walk-on and ended up getting scholarship money I think he was a junior by the time, so he earned that. He developed and was able to become a contributor in the program, and so I felt like it warranted a scholarship. So that opportunity is always available.
A lot of foreign recruits in college tennis. I wouldn't think you guys had the budget to fly to Spain, Germany, and Italy.
No.
Maybe you do.
No, it would be nice, but
so how do you find those players?
For the internationals, I've been here for a while, and there's a bunch of different international recruiters that I have worked with in the past and that I trust, and so a lot of it is through them and just over the years having that relationship and them putting kids in front of me to say, hey, take a look at this player. And so that kind of starts that process, and I think it's more about not to say that I don't recruit the Americans. In fact, I think this year I've been turned down by more American kids than I have in a long time. And I think it's just the fact that, at a certain point when the Americans have told me no, and I've got to a certain point where I'm like, okay, then I have to shift the focus of recruiting more towards the internationals.